We maintain that there are some seriously brave people out there right now. And it's not people doing what I'm doing. It's people in the belly of the beast who are actually throwing away their careers to speak up about the abuse that's going on within our federal government, the weaponization against you. And joining me now, someone we've talked to before, Kyle Seraphin, now host of the Kyle Seraphin Show. But he's an FBI whistleblower who gave it all up to tell us what's going on. Kyle, and for the people who didn't see last time, the floor is yours. Give us your story before we get into all the other ugliness.
Yeah, Jesse, thanks so much for having me back. So quick and dirty is that I did some whistleblower disclosures in 2021, simultaneous to refusing the COVID shot under Executive Order 14043. And one of those two, or maybe both of them, resulted in the FBI finding me to be kind of a persona non gratis and sending me out the door. They put me on AWOL status for a little while. And then on April 18th, a year and 1 day ago, they took my badge and my gun. And they told me I was no longer an FBI employee, but I was subject to all FBI employee rules. And then they took my paycheck. So I haven't been paid in 10 months. And very recently, I sent them a letter saying, look, I know you broke up with me, but I'm breaking up with you too. I don't want to be disciplined for some crazy offense that you've imagined and investigated while I didn't work there. And I definitely don't need you kicking down my door. So thanks so much for the time. And, the relationship is over between us. That's kind of the quick and dirty catch up on it.
Kyle, the biggest recent story, there's 1,000 stories we can get into, but the biggest recent story was the whistleblower revelation about the Richmond field office and the attempted infiltration of Catholic churches. Now, you can call me a conspiracy theorist, Kyle, but if we've seen one piece of paper from one whistleblower in one field office that says they're attempting this, that tells me they're already in and clearly doing it already.
Well, they've been doing this with mosques since, just after September 11th. We know that this was starting 2004, 2005. There was definitely, examples of it in 2006 that were happening. So going after religious institutions with no allegation of criminal activity is an ongoing and regular part of the FBI situation. When it comes to the Richmond field office, we know from Jim Jordan's revelations in the last 2 weeks that they're pretty confident there was an undercover employee that was infiltrating one of the parishes within the diocese. And based on a renewed interest, and my buddies and I went back and combed over the document that I exposed, it looks like that the analyst who was actually the writer of this may have been the infiltrator, which is even weirder. I've had people from that diocese reach out to me and say, hey, we think we've narrowed it down to who it is. And, does he meet this description? And it's like, yeah, that's probably him. So it's kind of a wild story, but, there's no reason to believe that they're not willing to go into Christian churches. It's not just Catholics. They just tried to carve off a section they thought that nobody would care about, but it turns out a lot of people do.
Kyle, using what they did with the mosques, what are they doing when they infiltrate? What does that mean? I don't think they're stealing the tithes on Sunday. What are they doing there? I don't know how this works.
Yeah, so they're going in and they're recruiting people that'd be sympathetic to report to the government. And then they're essentially creating a target list, right? They are trying to find reasons to open up federal investigations. So the broader investigation may be what they call like a Type 5 assessment, which Jim Jordan's office revealed to us. And what that is it's a pre-investigative step to list off a bunch of people that would be susceptible to recruitment to being a confidential human source, or often known as a confidential informant. And then they're going to get these people to just report on their neighbors, report on their friends, report on the people that are in the pews next to them or kneeling on the prayer mats next to them. And they're trying to gin up sort of a narrative that there is, in the case of the Catholic doctrine, they're looking for white supremacists. And I don't know how many Catholics you know, but there's not a ton of white supremacists hanging out in the Catholic Church. But that's what they're looking for, because that's how they're incentivized. That's where the federal budget goes. It pays for them to find these cases. It pays for them to run the cases. And then maybe the craziest thing is they actually predict every single year, before the year starts, how many disruptions of terrorist plots they're going to do. In 2022, the FBI forecasted 600 terrorist plot disruptions, and they fell short of the mark. They only got 397. So you're going to have to believe that the FBI interrupted a terrorist plot every day, twice on Sundays, for the whole year, if you believe the numbers that they're claiming.
Yeah, the KKK and Catholics have historically gotten along so well. I mean, they're practically one and the same. Okay, so explain this to people who get confused by this. Why would someone in a church, Catholic or otherwise, why would they ever inform on their person who sits in the pew next to them and someone who's in their same Sunday school class? That seems like an impossible task. Why would someone do that?
I think generally speaking, they won't. And that's really probably the difficulty and why they thought they were going to do it. And there's a couple ways they can go about this. They can go and do what's called a tripwire or a liaison contact. And that's maybe going to your parish priest and saying, this is what we're looking for. Tell us if you see it. And that's far less concerning, although I still think it's over the line. But when we're talking about trying to lean on other people to inform, generally speaking, what they'll do is they'll go to you and they'll say, we want you to report on this. And then what we saw in at least the examples of the mosques, and there was a Supreme Court case that was actually victorious on behalf of a number of Muslim Americans out of California last year. The FBI said, we'd like you to report on your neighbors. And they said, no, thank you. That's inappropriate. And so the Bureau said, it's really a shame that you're not going to be able to fly around this country. And several guys lost jobs because they had jobs that required them to fly around the country and do consultations and things like that. And so they put them on the no-fly list, and they put them through secondary every time they went anywhere, and they got invasive searches. And so, there's kind of a carrot and a stick mentality. It's like, if you don't play ball with us, then we're going to just lean on you really hard. And if you want to get off that no-fly list, you're going to have to go to DC, sit in the Hoover building, and do a polygraph. This was one of the things that came out of this Muslim Americans case. And like I said, they were victorious in front of the Supreme Court.
Golly. All right, there's another case that's out there that's really weird. A Chinese police station? They found one in New York City. Apparently now there are multiple of these all over the country. We have Chinese military-age males pouring across our southern border. One of these guys took a picture with Chuck Schumer. What? What is this?
Yeah, I think a police station is misnomer. These are intelligence outposts. So in 2014, the Chinese launched this sort of operation. It's called Operation Fox Hunt. At least that's what we've called it. They've changed names. It's been called Operation Skynet. And they've claimed that is an anti-corruption sort of probe across the globe, sending Chinese law enforcement and intelligence officers around to grab all these people that are corrupt and have taken money from the Chinese people. And that sounds sort of okay, not really great, but it's less insidious than what's really going on. And what they really do is they target Chinese dissidents all over the world, and particularly in this country as well. And so even in the first 6 months, they claim they grabbed almost 700 people. These are either coerced, threatened, or literally physical renditions. They're throwing a black bag and putting people on a private jet and taking them out of the country, taking them out of places like Western Europe, taking them out of Africa, and then taking them out of the United States as well. And they're taking them back to face Chinese justice, whatever that looks like, which I don't feel very confident about. And then I guess the worst case scenario is if they don't play ball, then they threaten family members who are back in China. One of the things that we've noticed is that, when I worked in the Bureau, I did 2 years of Chinese counterintelligence. So we had Uyghurs who are, historically threatened by the Chinese government, and they're put in labor camps and all this kind of thing. They'd come to the United States, they would leave everything, and then they'd get a phone call with a family member on the line and some member of the Chinese Communist Party and the intel apparatus who would be threatening their family member over the phone to them right then, letting them know, if you don't come home, something terrible is going to happen to your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, whatever.
That's friggin' terrible. Kyle, thank you, my brother. Wish you all the success in the world. Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith that the Chinese justice system is going to treat those people very fairly, kind of like our justice system.
Support the First TV today and get instant access to exclusive specials like Who is Ron DeSantis, the history of FBI scandals, and America's worst presidents. Visit thefirsttv.com/support or download the First TV app to become a supporter and start watching today.